Welcome, everybody. I'm Bill Antone. I am the superintendent, and I welcome you all to the reorganization of the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union Board. It is now my honor to take any nominations for chairperson of this board.
Nominate Rich Werner.
Ms. McDonald nominates Richard J. Werner
I didn't
for
know.
chair.
That was your middle.
Need a second?
No.
We do not for nominations.
I want to know what the J stands for.
James.
Are there any other nominations for chair of the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union Board?
No, wait for it.
Hearing none, all those in favor of Richard J. Werner being the chair of the WCSU, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those fervently opposed, signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? All right, Mr. Werner, you may now take over the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Vice Chairperson, who is currently Emily, she couldn't make it tonight, but she is willing to serve again if somebody would be happy to nominate her.
I'll nominate her.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay? We have a motion and a second, even though we don't need it, for the Vice Chairperson, but thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have a, is there any other nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor of Emily, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Election of clerk. Al's been the clerk for 2 years now, right?
2 years, yeah.
So I need a nomination for a clerk.
I nominate Al.
We have a nomination for Al. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, we don't need a second. I know.
There you go.
It's getting messed up. I know.
Already been through the shame.
I know. Now I'm ashamed. I didn't want you to feel bad. Is there any other nominations forthcoming? Seeing none, all those in favor of Al, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Oh, something's coming on. Authorized signatures. So this is where we have some board members that are allowed to sign documents for usually payroll, pay warrants for Wyndham Central. Currently, who is it, Bill?
The officers.
The officers. So if somebody'd like to make a motion to authorize the officers to be the authorized signatories,
So moved.
Ken moves. That one we need a second.
Second.
Dan seconds it. Any discussion?
Actually, that was Joe that,
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, yes. You guys with the beards now over in there. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Paper of record is the Brattleboro Reformer. So we would need a motion and a second to have the Brattleboro Reformer be our paper of record.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Sure, I'll second it. Joe.
Joe seconds it.
I did, until Rupert.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Appoint Treasurer. Bill, we're still okay to appoint,
Supervisory Union, my recommendation would be to appoint Lori Garland, who is our business manager, and I can give a recommendation for the
assistant.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I think we got that now, right? You have one, right? Yeah. Okay, so, a motion, is there anybody like
Yeah,
to?
I'll nominate Lori Garland as treasurer.
Ken made the motion, do we have a second? Who? Dan from Marlboro. Is there any discussion or other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Assistant Treasurer.
My recommendation would be Terry Fletcher, who is your current Assistant Treasurer, also in the business office at the WCSU,
Been around for quite a while, right?
22 years.
All right, I'll make a motion to keep Terry Fletcher as Assistant Treasurer.
Second?
You don't need a second.
Oh, you're right. No, I think it's just the officers, you know.
Okay.
So we have a second,
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to accept this calendar?
we're gonna get there.
Okay, well, we passed it, that's why I'm asking.
Election, authorized paper record meeting times and dates. Ooh, I'm sorry, we'll get back to that. I'm really doing an awful job tonight, sorry, guys. So we got a motion and a second on the floor to appoint Terry Fletcher, Assistant Treasurer. Is there any discussion, any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Bill passed around the meeting times and dates. Everybody should have a copy of that in front of you. It's got a bunch of little boxes. And this would be for the remainder of the year. We usually try to vote on this now, set the dates.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept this calendar of dates and times for the following years, or the current years.
Directors and Executive Committee.
Right.
Perfect. Second on
Second.
Ken's motion. We have a second. And is there any discussion? We try to use the last Wednesday or second to last Wednesday of the month because it doesn't interfere with other board meetings. And then we've been doing it since Dan MacArthur first got on the board.
Until we get to November and December.
Right, and then we bunch up a few because we need to get stuff approved so that the schools that vote early, like Leland and Gray, now probably Twin, the two Rivers, Valleys, and the West Rivers and everybody else will have to get out a little earlier. We were able last year not to have as many meetings too. Sometimes we don't need to meet in December because we get a quorum and our administration's been doing a pretty good job on budgets for us. No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries. Set surety bond amounts, 1,000 for board members, 5,000 for the treasurer, and 100,000 for the business manager and employee dishonesty. Somebody make a motion to set those bonds. Joe moves it. Do I have a second?
Second.
10 seconds it. Is there any discussion? Doesn't seem like a lot for the treasurer, does it? No
It keeps
discussion?
them honest that way.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Grant Superintendent Bill authority to accept grants. We do it every year, just allows him to accept grants on our behalf.
So moved.
Ken moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Angie seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Review and revise agendas may be advisable. Is there anything further on in the agenda anybody'd like to review or revise? We didn't do the introductions. Do we want to run through and just introduce everybody really quick? Bill,
I'm Bill Antone, I'm the superintendent.
Johnny, excuse me, Johnny Cleanthus, Dover School Board.
Beth McDonald, Wyndham School Board.
Christina Wright, Townsend School Board.
Until Rupert, Wyndham School Board.
Mike Murphy, Wardsboro School Board.
Dave Sklar, Wardsboro School Board.
Al Clausen, Townsend, and West River.
Rich Werner from Dover.
Joe Winrick from the Leland and Gray School Board.
Ken McFadden from Newfane School District, Newbrook School Board.
Jennifer Dora Duque, Jamaica School Board.
Cinna Stevenson, Jamaica School Board.
Lauren Foster, Marlboro School Board.
Dan MacArthur, Marlboro.
Douglas Core, Marlboro.
Peter Barris recording.
That's everybody. No business office tonight, huh?
Oh,
Okay.
just Billy.
Approve the minutes of the November 15th meeting, which was an executive committee meeting. It was not a full board meeting.
You asked about, do
Oh.
we need an addition?
I'm sorry.
Carolyn appointed me to say something about that study, those study grant charges? Are they on here somewhere and I just don't
Yes.
see them?
Study committee overages, 7B.
Okay, I see it now. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. Anybody else?
Richie, under number 7D, we've already approved the calendar. Do we need to do that again?
The board meeting calendar.
Oh, no. I want to write some T spots. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Okay. And we have considered a date for WCSU board retreat, but you said September 26th. Is that when we voted on the calendar, right?
I just want to make sure that
Well, we would have had to discuss it because we already just said it.
you get rid of it.
We can skip that discussion.
Look at that. We're doing really good. Look at all the stuff we're getting rid
We're
of.
gonna be out early.
Can we cross anything else?
Yes, approve the minutes of November 15th, 2017 meeting. It was executive committee meeting. The full board can approve executive committee meetings.
Copies are there if anybody needs them.
There's actually one tiny little typo.
Go ahead.
I'm not listed as being at that meeting, and yet later on I make motions.
Did I?
I was there.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Oh,
There was only 9 of us there.
It's the winter.
noted.
Okay. Besides that correction, is there any other
It's like,
discussion on the minutes? Can I get a motion in a second?
move to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, Joe moves.
Second.
Ken seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I wasn't here, so.
You'll abstain?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have 2 abstentions.
3.
3. Dave also. So we got Christina, Beth, and Dave.
You really wish me to list the abstainers?
Well, I think they're supposed to,
Okay.
just so people know that they're abstainers. So we got under old business, FY19 WCSU agency fund budget. So Bill has copies, he's gonna pass them out. This is something several years ago we stopped approving in the fall or in the early winter, because that way if somebody's school budget got gutted or voted down or issues rose, they would be able to adjust their budgets, part of their adjustment could be from the agency fund. Agency fund is only items that you specifically request, and the superintendent usually meets with your administrator, who meets with the boards, and comes up with a plan. There's nursing services, there's some professional development, there's technology, there's a orchestra, music lessons, band lessons, library. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts? And nothing's changed, Bill?
Yeah, I would just say that this is exactly what everybody agreed to in November, that your administrator worked with you on the board, and it's what you presented to your voters at town meeting.
So somebody would make a motion to approve a $385,114 agency fund budget for FY 2019.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion from Ken, second,
Joe.
Joe, and a second from Ken.
Do I need a name tag?
Dude, you guys need to separate. Put a girl between you so it's easy to form.
Hold on.
Okay,
That's
so
just
hold
the-
on.
That's just the transportation.
transportation
Just the
budget.
transportation. 385. Can you go down to the total?
Bill, what is it, where's the total?
At the very end, isn't it?
Yeah.
1.3.
Page 5.
Okay, let's, you guys, you wanna pull your second, your motion, please? I gave you the wrong number.
Oh, yeah, well, the number should be $1,359,833.
That's
Okay, I'm not seeing that.
It's right here.
Oh, I only got one page.
Oh, there you go.
Copy, huh?
So 1,359,833. So
That's my motion.
So that's Joe's motion. Ken, would you still like to second that, or
That's what I
is that too
seconded.
much?
Yep.
Okay.
That was the number I was looking at.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that number? A lot of money. Yes, sir.
So Selena asked me if I would ask this question. Marlboro is not represented on a lot of these items here, but we wondered if, for example, we're looking for a PE teacher now, we're looking for an art teacher now. If Marlboro decides at some point to try to tag along with WCSU, can that happen and presumably just be reimbursing for a different number than is listed on this page here?
Absolutely. So for example, if we hired a PE teacher that was .6, and that is reflected here, and Marlboro wanted to purchase .4, so that we then hired .4 to make that happen, we would just flow that through here. This is just what's all been pre-committed.
Okay, thank you.
Good, sir.
Yes.
Any other questions? The big thing they don't want to have happen, Dan, is that you commit to something, he issues a contract, and then September 1st say, oh, we don't want music, or we don't want something, because then they have a person they contracted, no way to pay them.
Don't back out.
Yep,
Back in, but don't back out.
you got it.
You can always have extra. You can't have less.
Remember, be a good dump truck driver, always back in before you drop your load. Well, you do, if you just drive in, try dropping your load, you can't get out.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
The wisdom of the chair.
Are we all set to vote? Any no more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Cool. New business.
Moving right.
For several years now, Marlboro has been asking to talk about the way we fund special education. Pardon?
Before you do this, who
Yeah.
requested?
I did.
It said Marlboro request on the agenda.
No, it's a request that you guys have made.
Oh, I was like,
I told you guys that we would bring it up and we would discuss it
okay,
this year, so I want to get it on the agenda.
gotcha.
So what happens, those of you that don't know, is Bill usually, I talk with Bill, we put together an agenda, it goes out to the officers approve it, and then we send it out to you all. And then if somebody, like Carolyn wanted to make sure something was on there, they can either request it then or you can request it under changes. So Doug, we talked about this for a long time. So where I was gonna go with this is Marlboro had made a request to look at how we fund special education. So in the past, we funded on a model based on the usage in the school is how we bill it. And because of the state law, all special ed went through central office 5 or 8 years ago.
2013.
Okay, so only a few years ago, 5 years ago. You can do different models on how you bill for it, but it all just has to flow through central office. We do the early special education, EEE, based on the number of students, not on the needs of the individual towns. Because usually we don't have any ability to alter that with those students. Because of the ability to alter some of your special education in your primary grades, we build per school. Marlboro has asked us to look at that, and so what I was hoping we could do is set up a subcommittee to review this so that, and it's something that it's gonna have to be worked on over the summer, because when the superintendent's office goes to put the budget together in September, October, they're gonna need to know which way to go. So I was hoping, and I probably should have called you, Doug, and I didn't, I'm sorry, but I was hoping that maybe out of this meeting, we don't spend a lot of time on it tonight, but that we set up a group of 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 people, including the special educator from Wyndham Central and somebody from the business office, and maybe not the business manager, because she may have a lot on her plate, but somebody from that office. And then, 3 to 5 board members.
Is it probable to talk about this now when the legislature is addressing it potentially? And
Well,
That's
that's what I'm
just gonna
saying, is if we set the committee up and the legislature does something and we're all happy, then the committee's
Okay.
work is done. If
I just didn't want to set the committee meeting dates until the
No,
legislature.
I think what we can do is we can either set a committee, or the chair is allowed to appoint committees if you guys give me that authority. So if you say to me that you want to have a committee of 5 people, and we can send something out, because there may be a person who's not here today that would like to serve in that committee.
Well, you can put me down, I'll serve for Marlboro.
Okay, So, but I think we gotta set the committee parameters. So what do we wanna have for a committee?
People.
Well, so, give us some thoughts. You know, what do you think? Do you wanna have like 5 people plus the central office?
I was thinking any board that's interested can submit, you know, a party, and there were people interested when Marlboro did bring the proposal forward, but we didn't have the vote, we just had a lot of discussion around
Right.
it. And then there were boards, I forget which ones, but they were at least interested. So people that get hit like Marlboro every few years with, you know, the spikes in special education, it's talking about trying to resolve that. I do think that this year the legislature is gonna be doing something that's gonna probably make this moot, but, I
If
think
they
that, yeah.
don't.
I think that we would probably want at least half of the WCSU to be involved in the committee, would we not? I mean,
Well, how about
does
if
that
we
seem
do
fair?
this, we could do it, anybody that has any interest, let me know. If there's more than 7 people, then I'll just pick and we'll make sure
Sure.
that we have at least representation from every board.
Yeah, I'm sure people wanna go to more meetings, I know that they're gonna write you.
Well, I do, if you're gonna go,
I'm going.
I'll be there.
He's got
Yes,
beer
sir.
in his.
Yeah, I have beer in my car.
On school property?
No, it's in the street. Parked in the street.
I would just say it's actually a really good opportunity, regardless of what the legislature does, because if the legislature does what is written, it would be wonderful to have, 5 to 7 people from this board be very knowledgeable about explaining what that would look like and why we're doing what we're doing. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to create a, this is the landscape, this is an education. So our central office will host the meetings, will organize the meetings, will do the legwork and the agendas and do the research. And we just really want board members to ask the question of what they want to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I see it from my perspective as educating myself on everybody else's budgets and how, and what happens in those fluctuations too. What they're doing in their schools.
Would you mind making a motion then to have a subcommittee appointed by the chair?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to have a subcommittee appointed by the chair of the WCSU to investigate special education throughout the WCSU and its expenditures, I guess. So, you got that, Peter?
Oh,
Investigate.
Its expenditures.
Great.
okay, so Doug made a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
And second.
Do we have a second to the motion? Is there any discussion on the motion?
but this one's bigger.
Are you all ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Bill, so let's send something out to all the board members and just say that we're having this committee and we need some volunteers. And if you don't volunteer, Doug will call you up and volunteer you.
Be voluntold.
You'd be voluntold? I like that. Thank you, sir. Good.
You're welcome.
Okay. Study committee overages, action. So we got a grant for 2 different study groups. One which eventually became the West River group and one which became the River Valleys group. During, the grant was meant to pay for certain things such as the consultant, it paid for some videotaping, it paid for some publicity, and there was a payment to the Vermont School Boards Association, that was for the consultant, and several other odds and ends. When we got all said and done, both groups had gone over their allotted budget by approximately $17,914. How are we gonna pay that back? We were under the impression that we could use the grant money that was coming in after we decided to move forward. The state of Vermont told us, no, we can't do that. So we have this overage. So we felt that possibly the best way to do was the River Valleys group would split the overage amongst them, and the 5 towns from the West River group would, well, I guess there's only 4 because you got Newbrook. So the 4,
It's still 5.
still, okay, so 5 towns from the West River group, and they would each pay theirs. So I think you have some comments you'd like to bring.
So you think only the districts that are in the current mud should split it amongst them? Or what was your thinking?
That's what the chairs of the two committees, Joe and myself, said that we thought would be fair. So we thought it could come out of the grant, the further grant, we thought that would be appropriate, but the state won't let us do that. So they said that we had to make it up. The WCSU has already spent it. So the next thing that came up was from the groups was that we would split it amongst the towns that were participating in the study.
Okay.
So what we looked for was the River Valleys went over $7,873, so the split is $26,24.27 between Dover, Wardsboro, and Marlboro. The West River group went over $10,041. Bill, you used to have this down as, you have it down with just a 4-town split. But what about, what if it was
We did
a
it 4 boards.
4-board split?
All right, because there's 4
Board,
schools, but 5 school districts.
The boards had to authorize the creation of the study committee, those were the board.
Okay, so that is a $2,500 and 2005-10, 30 for each board.
If you broke it out into 5 towns, it would be 2,000.
And if I can put Doug on the spot a little bit, Doug and I had a conversation because originally Wardsboro and Dover felt that because we did form the district and we were gonna get the grant, that we would cover it out of the grant. Since they wouldn't let us do that, I did have a conversation with Doug, and one of the things that Doug had said was that, you know, they did use the information that was gleaned from that study committee in their alternative structure. So it wasn't like they didn't get anything out of the even though they didn't become a member of that town or that school district, they did get some useful information out of it.
Yeah, and I think also we agreed to participate in the study, and you don't just, back out at the end if you weren't a part of something. So I brought it to my board, and I said, this is what we're paying, and everybody said yes, and we were full steam ahead.
Well, the
Yes.
Wyndham board is not so easily pleased. Carolyn refuses, and I agree with her fully, and I don't know Beth,
No, I do
Beth
too,
too,
yeah.
that if we split anything, then only by ADM. She's extremely upset that there was not enough information how this overage ever even appeared. I mean, I can read her email. I think she forwarded it to several people. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, because
Okay.
I didn't get my email.
So Bill had asked for a specific detailed, Bill was asking Carolyn what she would like, or how the detailed accounting, or what she was asking for, and Carolyn said, what specific questions, I would like to see a detailed accounting of the overage. So then, here's her response. My overall question is where to start. To put things in perspective, when we agreed to participate in the study, my understanding was that the grants would cover the cost. There was no question in my mind that was the expectation, so this is an outrageous surprise, and one for which we have not budgeted. To put things in perspective, this represents 2% of our budget. As for specific questions, what is 5 Maples and why are we paying them? What is Wright Jones and why are we paying them? And why are we paying the Vermont School Board? I'm assuming that John Everett's fee, I'm assuming that's John Everett's fee, but why are we paying the VBOE? What is being disallowed and why? In terms of the amounts being billed to towns, this does not even pass the sniff test. Carolyn was very upset. In all other dealings, we pay based on ADM, and in fact, our representation on the MUUD is based proportionally, so the notion that Wyndham is expected to pay the same as the towns of Newfane and Brookline put together is absurd. I cannot in good conscience and on behalf of the taxpayers of Wyndham approve this expense. If you want to do a recalculation of the amounts owed based on the number of students at each school, as our representation on the MUUD board would be, I will consider it. but we just don't have the money. We can discuss this at the meeting. Unfortunately, she's not here. Perhaps my final question, though I'm not guaranteeing this, is how could the funds be so mismanaged? We knew what we had to spend, how could we go so over budget, and who was minding the purse strings? Sorry, I'm just the messenger, but
No,
I
that's
do
fine.
agree with her.
So hang on a sec. So why don't we go through, so Bill gave us a breakdown on the top of the paper he gave us. So Peter Barris obviously is our recording secretary extraordinaire. The consultant's fees were through the VSBA, so that is that number there. BCTV is that gentleman there who was recording all our meetings so that we could, we felt that was a good way, I think both groups did, felt that was a really good way to get things out for people to see. Patty Dixon, I don't know, Joe? Bill?
I'm guessing she fronted some expenses in the publicity and then got reimbursed.
that's exactly
Some mailing expenses or some setup expenses for the FAQ that we sent out.
Okay. Anita
Raphael?
it was a pub.
PR,
did-
yeah.
Yep, so you know about her. 5 Maples, I really don't know, that's a good question.
Printing.
Oh, okay. And then Wright Jones.
Legal.
So we had to run the ballots by the attorney,
All
so,
the articles.
Everything, yeah.
yeah. So that's where the numbers came from.
What's the disallowed?
Underneath the 5 Maples, Anita Raphael, and BCTV, they picked and chose what PR was available and what it was not. So PR and messaging was changed in Act 49 to be allowed for study committees, but was not retroactively changed under Act 46 to the specificity of reimbursement.
There you go. Also, don't forget too, even our consultant was telling us, that there's a $150,000 grant. We thought it was for each one of us.
Right.
Well, we didn't know that it was, for the SU. And then also remember that there was, we were kind of led down the path to believe that the 150 didn't involve the initial grant for the first study we did as a full SU. And then we had the second study for each individual group, and they took money out of that. So not only, I think everybody's pretty upset with the way the whole project went.
Can I just ask if the whole grant thing is just a matter of timing and paper? Because is there no way for the grant to pay the WCSU, who then pays the costs of these? I mean, is that for just administrative costs? I mean, do we really need to itemize
So
in this fashion?
So these two $20,000 grants are part of the $150,000 grant, which leads to why everybody believed during the creation, including our consultant, that if you spent $22,000, it just would be taken out of that $150,000. When we turned in June 30th, 2017, the two initial $20,000 grants, because that was the date of the due, that's when we received back the information of the disallowed, the over budget, and the inability for the remaining of that $150,000 to be paid. To your question about how you want to do the accounting, I cannot answer that, other than this was money spent by boards that voted for a study committee, and the advice from the state and the advice from our business manager is to handle it in this manner.
So then I think the last thing Wyndham's request is to reconsider how you're doing the West River group and doing it based on ADM versus just an even split by board. And, I don't know, is that our decision as an SU to make, or is that something that should be discussed amongst that group first and then if they can't come to consensus, then they can plead their case to Wyndham Central?
Good question. So technically, Wyndham Central, which you guys are the board are the recipient of the grant. So this board could receive a recommendation from West River about how to proceed. But at the end of the day, Wyndham Central is the grant overseer and would need to make that final decision.
So has Wyndham made a case to the West River group yet? Do you know?
No.
Do you know?
No. Only by email. Only this email exchange, and Joe was
Okay,
CC'd into that email that Carolyn sent out that I just read.
okay, thank you.
Only by email, and then the discussions at our board were that, you know, every town was an equal participant in the study committee, and none of the other ways that were split up really seem fair in terms of how other towns get hit. I mean, Newbrook, just because they're a big district, and have, you know, better membership on the board because they're a combination of two towns, really gets whacked. You know, nobody's happy about paying the overage at all, but at the end of it all, at the end of the discussion at our board, we really thought the fairest way to do it, and we did not have, other than that email, knowing that Wyndham was not in favor of this, that the fairest way to do it was just to kind of bite the bullet amongst the participants in the study committee and everybody pay it.
The problem is Wyndham is, you know, compared to Newbrook, which I realize is technically one school, it's two towns. And if you split it up, the 4916 by ADM, that way it actually seems to come out of, you know, you're looking at Newfane doing like 2460 and Brookline doing 2460.
This doesn't seem like a thing that you could do by ADM just for the fact of it's not something that was used for the students.
Representation on the.
Hey, are you all set?
No, because also with
And then we can-
representation, you also have 2 at-large members now, and that was brought up during that study group, and if both of them were elected from Wyndham, then Wyndham would have 3 representatives on the board, which would be as many as Newbrook, or Newfane anyway, because now Newbrook will no longer exist, it's going to be Newfane and Brookline, or members of the new district. So,
Just letting you know, I want to add something to that too.
Okay.
and
Are you all
I think,
set, or
I
do
think
you-
it should,
Where were
I think it should be done by each school that participated.
Did you have?
Where were the at-large members chosen from?
From every district, but both of
Both at-large
Both
But
people?
that can change every year.
No, I know, I'm
Yeah.
just.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
In terms of representation too, I mean, if you look at the board, it is weighted by voter registration, but in terms of the actual study committees, the representation for each district participating was equal. Everyone had the same amount of representation on the study committee board. Because that wasn't weighted.
Well, it had to have been because our study committee with Marlboro, there was 4, 3, and 3. 3 from Wardsboro, 3 from Marlboro, and 4 from Dover, right? So your representation on the study committee had to have been weighted too somehow. Right, Bill?
Yeah.
You didn't have just
Every
one
town-
rep from every town, because you had more than that on the board.
I thought it was like WCSU where everybody brought, because I know like,
Right, and we also.
There was only
and we-
one
and we
voting
also
member,
took
but everybody brought a
recommendations
bunch
from
of-
the public.
Yeah.
Everybody
I mean,
else. I could be
everybody's
I
required
could
to
be
take
wrong.
information
I could
from
be
the public, but
misremembering.
we were a 10-member board, right?
We were 4-3-3.
Right, so there-
433. But I will say this, that it's almost a different conversation. Obviously, what Wardsboro, Dover, and Marlboro do doesn't affect this decision, but also the 3 towns, ADM, number of people who live in the town, we're a lot closer together. So it makes more sense, I think, for Wardsboro, Dover, Marlboro to split it evenly. And not to, get into the other conversation at all, but we didn't feel uncomfortable with that because the three towns are pretty much
Fairly
equal.
Well, Wardsboro probably got the short end of the stick if we did ADM.
Yeah.
But we're talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands.
Right.
Right, and you guys have the 7th and 8th grades, so that gives you, I think you have the pupils because of that, those extra grades help too. Bill?
Okay, so there were 15 members on the board.
Committee.
On the committee, sorry. And it was broken down like this. Newfane 5, Townsend 4, Jamaica 3, Brookline 2, and Wyndham 1.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
But there was more than input put in from one person.
Bill, hang on one second, can you go through those numbers again? Newfane 5,
Townsend 4, Jamaica 3, Brookline 2, and Wyndham 1.
but that, you didn't split your money up using that formula on this chart anywhere, right?
No, this was split up by school districts.
Okay. Well, you have prorated board reps.
So that was based on the 9 that were elected, not the 11 or the 15 that participated.
Okay. So, I'm gonna go back to you guys from Wyndham. What would you like to see? Would you like to make I guess you could make a motion, because it does go through the WCSU on how you would like to see the money spent. You can go to the West River group and talk to them, and if you can come to an agreement, we do have another meeting, and I would think that that's something we can authorize the executive committee to make a decision on, just in case we don't have a full board meeting for the annual meeting. How would you guys like to?
Well, I can make a motion. Carolyn insists that it should be done by ADM. So I'd like to move that this overcharge is split by ADM.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second.
And can I ask just a quick
No,
question?
yeah, we have discussion. So we have a motion, a second, and then it would be the overage for the West River group would be done by ADM, so it wouldn't affect the West River group. Bill, are we okay to do that? Do different ways?
Yeah. In terms of the grant, all the grant cares about is that 17,914 is paid.
So, go
That
ahead.
was my question. I just was feeling like maybe we should be doing it by ADM for everybody. Especially since it's not gonna make a huge difference to our committee one way or the other, but at least then we're not doing apples on one side and oranges on the other.
So we can get an amendment to the motion that include both groups, if somebody would like to make that amendment.
I can't make an amendment
Yeah, you
to
can.
something I seconded, can I?
I think you can.
Okay, I would like to make an amendment that we pay this overage based on ADM for all school districts.
Okay, do we have a second to the motion?
second it?
Yeah, you can second it.
Okay, I'll second it then.
You can, I think you can motion on your own motions.
There we go.
Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, so we now have an amendment. So the amendment has to be discussed and voted on first. So what you would be doing is voting to amend the motion, okay? And it's gonna be as bad as town meeting. So the motion is to have whatever, if we decide to do this, it would be for all schools, not just for the West River group. Does anybody want to have any discussion on that?
I'd like to see the breakdown of the number for our group. I mean, it's kind of hard to vote on something I don't know
Okay.
what the cost is
Be
gonna
less
be.
for you.
Yeah, you'll save money.
No, I know,
Dollars more
but on
than
behalf
two,
of every member of the group, I think it's,
Bill, can you do that for me?
I can't do it right now.
That requires math.
No,
All
it
right, well,
requires.
can I rephrase that? I
ADM will figure
mean,
it
I'm
out.
good with it, obviously, it's gonna save us money, but on behalf of the other two
How many
members,
students do you guys have?
43.
Well,
Or
it's
40.
your ADM, it's not
41.
actually the number of
Oh, yeah,
students,
that's
it's
true.
whatever the number the state makes up
Right,
for us.
right.
That's true.
Remember, there's always like the point something student that it's gonna cost you a whole lot of money,
That's true.
depending which half of the kids you get.
Oh, right.
So do you have the town budget?
I think it would be, I understand your point, but I think it would be hard
Yeah, no, I
to come up
agree.
with those numbers,
I
so.
suspect in our case, it's gonna be a few $100 is gonna shift one way or the other.
Right, I think a few hundred, I think you guys will shift quite a bit, because you were substantially smaller. I think they were about half our size, weren't they?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That would be good.
Oh,
for
yeah.
control.
yeah, so I think there'll be a substantial shift to us.
Sorry, I know.
Was it-
I'm just trying to be fair.
No, and it's a good discussion, so with that discussion, go ahead.
Is it ADM now or ADM then?
Well, that's something that I think we
No, it
would,
would have to be based on when the committee was in
Right?
place,
Yeah.
right?
It was
so
the
last year's ADM.
Previous year's ADM.
Are you guys good with that?
The grant year ADM, yeah.
Okay.
48.
So it'd be the grant year ADM. So we're not gonna have exact numbers tonight, because Bill's gonna have to do some homework.
The
Is there-
Wayback Machine.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment? Which would be that it be due, that whatever, if we do the main motion, it's done to both. Okay. If there's no more discussion, are you ready to vote? Okay, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
Yes.
Right here.
Okay, so we have 2 opposed. I believe we have enough ayes. Is there any abstentions? I'm gonna say the motion carries. Does everybody agree? Okay, if everybody agrees, the amended motion now should read, Peter.
To allocate the overcharge by ADM for all districts.
Okay, and we have an understanding that's at the time of the study, so that would have been last year's ADMs.
Can I just ask a clarification so that everybody understands what that means? So does that mean, and you gave the motion, right,
Yeah.
Lauren? That 17,914 would be distributed based on ADM of all study committee participants?
No.
No.
I
No,
don't think so.
I think this-
You have to still break it down by the two different,
Well, that's why I'm asking.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying break it down into the 7,873
Yeah.
and the 10,041, and then do the ADM calculation? Okay,
I think
that's,
that's kind of where we're at.
Okay,
Is
I
everybody
just wanted
okay
to-
with that?
Yeah.
That's a
Because
good.
they were two different groups.
Yes.
okay, okay.
Okay, so everybody's good with that. Any other
Well,
dis-
even more money probably, but.
any other discussions? If there isn't, are you all ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay, if you're all ready to vote, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Yep, opposed.
Any abstaining? I would say that the ayes have it.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
The ayes appear to have it. So I say that the motion carries.
It
So-
always seems as though it's just a principle are always out.
So, Bill, you'll need to readjust that
Just
based
refuse
on
to
this
pay
vote.
half.
Okay, so just for clarification,
Okay, hang on, folks. Wait, hey, guys, come on.
for clarification,
We're on the same page.
okay, the board is directing my office to bill out $7,873 based on ADM to Dover
Last
Wards,
year's ADM,
ADM of
FY 2017.
okay, the 2016-2017 school year,
Yep.
to Dover, Wardsboro, and Marlboro, and $10,041 of the 2016-2017 school year to Jamaica, Newfane, Brookline, Townsend, and Wyndham, 5 separate towns.
That was my understanding of the motion. Does anybody disagree with that?
With 20 cents.
Okay, hang on. Dan.
10,000.
Now, Bill, I thought you had said before that it was not the towns, but the district boards that were responsible for this. Therefore lumping Newfane and Brookline in together.
Well, so the
but
ADM will be the same.
It's gonna be the
And
same,
I'm
okay.
gonna, it's
yeah.
the same billable.
Right, okay.
But when they participated as a study committee member, they participated as a town, even though we're gonna bill them as a, so technically, I will actually do it in fifths
But you have to remember, it also includes the high school.
and then roll.
Okay. So it doesn't just matter the elementary school.
Right.
Yeah, for us, it's K through 12.
Well, that throws something, another curveball.
No, because I can do ADM by town. I can do ADM by
Okay.
town, yeah.
So it's entire ADM, K
Entire
through 12.
ADM, so, well, and you can notice it, the easiest way to notice it is under the Wyndham line.
Yeah.
There are not 29 students in the elementary school.
Right.
There are
Exactly.
Okay,
17 and 12. So.
so
Okay.
is this as clear as that mud is to everybody?
It's our mud.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think you are all set, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Give me 3 minutes, I'll give you the numbers.
we can do that in a little bit. If anybody's interested. WCSU school calendar, 2018-2019, we need action. So Bill has that right here. Yeah, we skipped consider date for WCSU board retreat because we already did it when we voted on the calendar. And we skipped the other thing, the calendar, because we already did it. Okay, so folks, school calendar is in front of you. It's based on the superintendents getting together around don't tell me, it's around the Career Center. And they came up with this wonderful calendar. Some of it has to be adjusted because some schools have different contracts. They require different student days and teachers' days. But this is the general basic Wyndham Central calendar. You can go ahead and try to change it, but you're just gonna create hate and discontent. Or we can just make a motion and vote on it and rubber stamp it, which is all the state wants us really to do anyway.
Do we have any more of those?
Oh, here, whole bunch of
Got
them.
one more.
We have seats up here too, she doesn't have to feel
Yeah,
segregated.
there's a chair right here.
There's one right next to Al. Al doesn't bite
No?
tonight.
I realized you were sitting right there.
Okay, anybody like to make a motion? Is there any
Make a motion
questions?
to approve the WCSU school
Okay,
calendar
so-
2018.
Al made the motion, do I have a second?
Sure.
Ooh, somebody down that end, we'll give it to somebody new.
Second.
There you go, excellent. We have a new second. Discussion. Bill, you were looking like you wanted to discuss, but not.
Oh, no, I just wanted to let you guys know that people are waiting with bated breath for this group to approve it because your principals all want it, they want to start sharing it. So I just wanted to let you know it's going to go live tomorrow, so.
So we shouldn't delay the vote?
No, we probably won't wait.
That would not be helpful.
Go, Ken, you get it? You have a comment? No. Okay. You all ready to vote? So you're all ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I love unanimous votes. Any abstentions? Okay, the last thing that is an action, is, and it's really not much of an action, we have this questionnaire that we have to fill out, and you guys are gonna have a blast with this. I got one right here. Oh, should I pass them out?
No, I just had one.
Okay, so this is a financial questionnaire we have to do every year. So I'm gonna ask you guys questions, and we're gonna start with Ken. No, we're gonna start, I'm sorry, with Doug. Doug,
It's the beer, Doug.
Yeah.
Doug, do you know by whom the following is maintained? The supervisory union checkbook.
Lori Garland?
Bill? Yay.
Bingo!
Dan,
You have.
Starting on a plus, guys.
who maintains the school district receipts?
School district.
They end up with the town treasurer, who is also the school district treasurer.
Bill?
Well, so for WCSU, it's got to be Lori Garland.
Okay.
You can't-
Remember,
So
this
we're-
isn't,
We're doing that, okay.
Right.
You're doing WCSU.
Oh, okay, all right.
you
But
were,
it said school district.
Right.
yeah, you're ready to, you should do this for your own school district. You
Okay,
should-
we're doing it for.
We're doing it tomorrow.
It's the
Right.
exact same.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay,
Well,
so,
we're not gonna give up our own invoices to Lori just because they came to our district. You
No,
can have
Those are
copies
invoices
of them.
that, our school district invoices that would come to the WCSU. think of special education.
I just want to raise my grade a little bit here if I can, but.
We'll get back to you, there's a lot of questions. Lauren, school activity cash check receipts, student activity cash check receipts,
What about them?
who maintains them?
Well, in our case, it would probably be.
WCSU.
Yeah.
Oh, WCSU, school activity.
Is it a trick question?
I know.
I'm gonna say it's the treasurer.
There are none.
No treasurer.
No, there are none, no, shouldn't
Are
be
there
any.
no student activity receipts?
No, because they don't have any students,
Oh,
really.
there you go. Right.
So you knew it, we gave you credit
There you
for it.
go.
Student school district payments, next, you ready? Who keeps the records for payroll?
Can I phone a friend?
Yeah,
The business office.
Lori Gar-
Lori Garland, right, it is, oh my God, every answer is Lori Garland.
no, we're gonna change it in a minute. Accounts payable,
Lori Garland.
okay. Next, oh, we're gonna stump again. Bank deposit slips,
Bank deposit slips. Who gets the bank deposit slips?
Yep.
The bank.
no, who keeps them?
Who keeps them?
LG.
I would say Lori Garland, since everybody else does.
Yeah.
Can't fire her. you know.
Bank reconciliations.
Lori Garland again.
Now that makes me wonder, that shouldn't really, well, she keeps them,
She's
she doesn't
ultimately
get
responsible for all the
Right.
stuff. There's different people that
I
do
was gonna
it.
say-
We
Starting
always
to wonder
double
what
check
built
it by
them.
having the business.
Oh, he corrects us on Jeopardy. Okay, are all bank statements and ledger balances reconciled monthly by who? By whom? So I'm gonna say yes, but I'm not gonna say it's not Lori
It isn't
Garland.
Lori Garland.
I
That's right.
would say
It's
it's Terry
treasurer.
Fletcher.
Treasurer.
That's right. I knew that. Why couldn't you give me that one? I knew that one.
Does someone other than the treasurer review bank reconciliations? That's yours, Al.
Central office.
Well, Terry, right?
Yes. That's why you have the assistant treasurer.
Okay, Dave, are you ready? Are checks always written to specified payees and not to cash?
I'm gonna say yes.
Ding,
I
ding,
hope.
ding, ding, ding.
Well, this is a good time to pass out the check,
Murph.
Rich.
Yeah.
You can pass out in this folder.
Yeah,
You guys
why
asked
don't
for
you
the
do that?
checks,
Okay.
right?
Are financial records maintained in a computerized system, Murph?
They better be.
Can look and have the master.
If it isn't,
I know.
buy an applicant.
We don't have to give a name. Are you ready? Your question, are all payees registered in accounting software? Are all payees registered in accounting software?
Should be.
It's the only way they
Ding,
can
ding,
get
ding,
paid.
ding,
It's the only way
I
they
was
can get
gonna
paid.
Are all invoices original on vendor letterhead or format with individual invoice numbers?
I hope so.
We don't pay them if we don't have
You
them.
guys, you ready? This is a tough one. Are all payments recorded and mailed with notations to the associated invoice number?
I would hope so.
Does the school district hold current W-9 forms for all vendors?
I have no idea.
Yes, and it is a
Yes,
pain.
it's a pain.
Can we go back a bit? Because I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
It says all invoices original on vendor letterhead, right?
Yep.
Okay, what happens when they gotta do the stuff from petty caches? From
There
different
shouldn't be any
districts?
petty cash in SU.
flow any petty cash.
None.
None.
Yeah, but we're gonna be answering these tomorrow, right?
Well, these answers for your school, you may have petty cash, you're gonna have
That's what I
a
was
student, right, you're gonna have a student fund,
Right.
you're gonna have money like that they raise for trips and stuff.
Right.
That's separate, we have to think at SU level. So Doug,
Yes.
does the same individual open the mail and deposit the checks?
That's a good question, Rich.
No. You can phone a friend,
I'm gonna say
phone a
no.
friend. And it shouldn't be, right, Bill?
Meg Wright opens the mail.
Correct. And she
And-
gives the checks to Lori Garland for deposit. 2 for 2.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, are pre-numbered checks used for all bank accounts?
If I don't get a question like that, I'm gonna.
Oh, you should see your question.
Probably, yes.
Yes, it should be. Lauren, are unopened bank statements delivered directly to the treasurer as received?
No, they can't be.
Right. They're delivered to Terry, right?
Doug already told me, bag
they're
was
opened
open
by
in the mail.
bag.
Right.
So we've manipulated it by.
You ready for your question? Have you borrowed money from the school district?
Oh, no. I'm not. Can I?
No.
I didn't think so.
Your question is almost as good. Do you know of anyone who's borrowed money from the school district?
No, I do not. No.
10. Have school board members attended financial trainings?
Depending on the individual.
Okay, I'm gonna put that as a yes. You ready?
No.
Do financial accounting personnel take regular vacations?
Yes, and Lori's on one right now.
Yeah.
So Al's now into banking. Did you guys know, I went to a training class years ago, and there was a guy who worked for the bank, and he never took a day off. He did like 50 years, 40 some odd years. And they had this big retirement party for him and everything, and what a great employee. Well, after he left, they found that he'd been embezzling money from the bank for so many years, but because he never took a vacation, nobody ever counted his draw or did anything, and he was like gone to an island. They never found him. And ever since then, if you're FDIC insured, you are required to take 2 weeks off together. You have to have at least a 2-week vacation where you don't go in the bank at all. So that, for that kind of stuff, so, interesting story.
Fully audited, yes.
So my question is, have you deposited school district monies anywhere other than a school district account? And I'm gonna have to say no on that, even though I've given Bill my check stubs and my check deposit slips, and he won't do it for me. Have you deposited any non-school district monies into a school district account, Al?
No.
You ready? This is hard. Is it common practice for staff members to rotate responsibilities or cross-train periodically?
I think they should cross-train. I don't know if it's common practice to rotate, though.
Would you like to know the answer?
I would.
So we rotate every time there's a vacation. We cross-train as practice based on your new business manager. And she has now instituted a regular rotation, even without vacations happening. So that, because what she recognizes when the first vacation happened, that was the first time that somebody had cross-trained and then switched. It's better to switch them while that other person's right there. So I would say that in the past 18 months, we have changed a lot of those things.
Murph, this is a tough one.
Present.
Are student activity receipts deposited within 48 hours of the event?
Not for the WCSU.
I'm gonna
They have
put
no student
NA
activity
because we don't
receipts.
have any.
That's correct.
Are you ready? Have you experienced a theft or embezzlement during the last 5 years?
Not that she knows.
Personally, or?
Wow.
No.
Not that we know of
Not
yet.
that it's been documented.
That's right.
Does the school district have written policies and procedures for financial operations?
The school district? Or
Well, the supervisory union,
supervisory
yeah.
union? I would think so.
You are right.
And all rewritten in the last 18 months?
I figured.
You ready?
Oh my God.
Does each town and school district official have copies of these policies and procedures?
Yes.
We've reviewed them, but we don't
That's
sign
interesting.
them.
That's a good question.
I don't know where they are, but Al said we have them.
WCSU website, right?
Not the financial.
Is there a number on that one?
It's the first one on the second page.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put don't know.
Yeah, that's
We'll
fine.
check.
But it's a to-do for me.
Beth, is there a standard procedure to ensure that gate receipts flag the event's
Oh,
attendance?
come on, seriously?
Well, you know the answer to that.
Say it again.
Just say not applicable or no.
Not applicable. Oh, we don't have events, right.
Okay, Doug, in interest in school, is interest in school district accounts apportioned to each account?
Repeat the question?
Is interest in school district accounts apportioned to each account?
Yeah. Right? It's our money.
Well, no, it's, so they may have a CD with some, or they may have an account with money from different funds in it. So at the end of the year, they have to say, okay, we got $100 in interest total, but 20 went to this account, 20 went to that account.
Based on the amount that was in the account.
Right,
Okay.
because that way you make sure that the interest is in the right account and the
Yep.
money's flowing right, especially with the grant accounts that they hold.
Sounds painful though. I don't really want to do that.
Can it be done?
interest if you have the larger sum, so it makes sense
to Correct.
go through the process.
Shouldn't it be done with ADM, using ADM?
And now, because you did that, you get a hard question.
Skip on down, Rich.
Has there been any changes in authorized signatures during the fiscal year that we're currently in?
Yes,
Actually, no.
that's
There
right.
is.
We just
did it
revoted the
today.
same
The
people.
same 3 people.
Right.
How long?
Oh,
Laura's been,
Lori and Fletcher have both been there, and
Yeah.
the same 3 officers, so no.
oh, tough one. Laura, this is a tough one.
Uh-oh.
Has a signature stamp ever been used for any school district accounts?
No.
If you need
Ever?
one, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, see, he keeps saying school district, so I
Yeah.
keep thinking.
Okay,
of
no,
us,
it's
but-
all supervisory union, don't blame
Yeah,
me.
sorry.
You could phone a friend too.
Hasn't that been used already, the phone thing? Now don't I
No,
have to, like,
each person gets a
remember
phone
how
a
the
friend.
rules went with that game, but you can only do it at once.
Jeopardy to.
No, because I'm not making them do it in the form of a question.
What is,
Do you, are you ready? Do you have pre-numbered receipt books for cash payments? No.
Wait, no, there's no cash payment.
Right.
No, I knew that.
Have you attended training on record keeping?
Yes. Well, I have.
There you go.
Personally.
No, well, there you go, that's what, depends on the
10.
individual.
Are any school district financial records maintained in manual form?
In manual form. There has to be there has to be a hard copy. It's not all
No,
on
but
the
it's
computer.
entered
So the answer is
manually.
yes.
like a
No,
journal.
enter manually, manual form, so like the old ledger books, you know, like Scrooge opened up and started writing.
Oh, you mean just directly in a ledger? No.
Yeah. Do you maintain separate pages, columns, and running balances for each fund?
You bet.
We do. Computer does it. Are checks written by the same individual who approves payments? And I'm gonna say no. Do you participate in any business which does business with the school district? Ooh, Al, do you?
No.
Okay. Would you like to get some accounts from the school district?
I would love to,
We can
yeah.
hook you up.
Oh, wait a minute, the SU level, yes, it does. He's a school board member.
No, but you
It's
don't
another
have-
organization altogether.
Dave, does any employee you know participate in any organization as a vendor?
No.
Bill, do you know of any?
Doesn't the, who's plowing?
Current vendors for the WCSU.
So you-
Well, no, this is interesting. No, because, well, so I would have to ask you,
Yes.
are you an owner or a member of the company in which I have plowing?
No, it doesn't matter because she's not working in your district. It's
As an
people
employee.
who are working as an employee in your building.
Okay, then no.
So another.
I was just going down the rabbit hole a little bit.
No, yeah, no.
The
I was
town of
thinking the same
Dover
thing. You pay-
had a town manager and he went on vacation and the road commissioner, Phil Bartlett, is looking through invoices. She's trying to find out where they got the last set of culverts from. And he pulls a couple invoices down and says, I've never heard of this culvert company before. I thought we bought them from this other place. So they did some investigation and they found out that the town manager made this company and he was selling road materials to the town and would submit them, he'd approve them, he'd get the treasurer to cut the check to his company, and he embezzled, I forget, it was like $100,000 from the town of Dover. Guys, I think his name was Lassiter.
How do you do that again, Rich?
We'll talk.
Mistake number one.
Murph, are we on you?
For $20, you can get it edited out.
No, Dave's turn.
No, I just want,
Have you questioned the lifestyle of any associates, if the lifestyle of
No.
any associate reflects their normal income?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Okay. Have you questioned,
Superman 3 question.
listen,
question
have
of
you
lifestyle here.
questioned
Right.
if the lifestyle of any associate reflects their normal income?
So for example, where's Lori on
Oh.
vacation?
Right.
Did Lori take her private jet on
Yeah.
vacation, or does she?
He's in Orlando.
I have not, no.
Okay. Are bank accounts and fund balances reconciled on a monthly basis?
Yes.
Does the school district loan money to town employees? Does the SU loan money to town employees?
I don't think so.
We're just gonna say no.
Better not.
Okay, so can somebody just make a motion that allows the chair to sign this as the chair?
So moved.
Seconded. We have a motion, second, any discussion?
I did, aren't you, Rupert?
And then Ken.
seconded.
Can you put that in the contract folder?
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So you're gonna do this at your school level? About 3 years ago, Bill, they recommended you do this, and it just asks questions, and it lets us know how our money's being handled. So this is something that I think that was a really good,
Well, I would say, feel free to say you don't know, and then ask us, and we'll help you find that answer. It's a check for you guys as your responsibility as a board member.
We can't do that at the individual board level anymore. The superintendent doesn't come to our meeting.
Well, we're gonna talk about that in I. Brutal.
What kind of car is the superintendent?
Honda Fit, baby, it's sweet.
I've seen it, believe me.
I've ridden in it.
I rode in
I'd
it.
much prefer to go with you.
Yes.
That's a lifestyle question.
Okay, guys, we're almost done. Act 46 updates. So we have Marlboro. You want to talk about how you guys doing with your alternative structure? Where are you at? Do you need anything? You guys in pretty good shape?
As it stands right now, we've been approved by the state board, provisory that the SU is as it currently stands, I guess, is what I'm gonna say. And that might change, but not this year, we don't know.
However, it's codified right in our agreement is Marlboro will continue to be an existing district even if the state board at some point changes supervisory union boundaries. So Marlboro won't change, but we might get shifted to another SU.
Cool. You guys want to talk about Wyndham? I know you
Well,
guys.
I just got a forwarded email a few days ago from Carolyn that came from, I believe it was from Brad James about dates when the presentation was gonna happen, but I don't have them in my memory. Do you remember when these were? There were several of them.
Yeah, you guys were offered the opportunity to go up for a half-an-hour conversation.
Right.
And it'll happen the last week of March and the first 2 weeks of April.
Oh, April,
You
that's
have to
right.
pick a date, and it's first come, first served.
Right, and I haven't seen Carolyn since then, so I don't know what her take is. I'm pretty sure she's gonna wanna do the presentation, which I'm very grateful for. But I don't know if she has already given that some thought as to which date, but she was the one who presented our application on December 22nd. It was due on the 26th, so this actually moved a lot faster than I anticipated. So we'll wait and see what happens.
And I'll speak really quickly for Stratton unless Bill wants to. Stratton's in the same position that Wyndham is in. They picked, they're supposed to pick a date. I have called Carolyn just to see if she needed any help because we did go up, the SU, I went up to represent the SU with Marlboro, so I offered the same to Wyndham and Stratton and they both accepted. So I'll go up too with them. And if there's anybody else from the district like to go up, I think you guys felt, it was a pretty interesting process, so It's definitely the boards are involved. If you can attend, it'd be really interesting. Marlboro did something really good because the secretary recommended that it not be approved, and Marlboro was able to present a good enough, strong enough case that the board went against the recommendation.
If I could throw this out, Rich, I am one of the steering committee members of a newly formed Alliance of Vermont School Board Members, and we just sponsored a conference in Montpelier last Saturday on AGS proposals. 4 people who are proposing AGS and are going to have this meeting. Those meetings are being arranged from the north part of the state toward the south, so several people have already had them, and a number of people in the room as we had the conference have been before the board. It's not before the board, just so you know, and I'll write Carolyn all of this too, but the only 3 people there from the state are the Secretary, Rebecca Holcombe, Brad James, and Donna Russo-Savage, and it's in a small room, so unlike when you went up with us, Rich, it's probably not a good idea to schedule a whole bunch of people because there might not be room for them. So they're suggesting maybe 3 people max. But I will get all of this information that was gleaned from this conference to Carolyn as well.
Tom Montemagny also.
What's that?
Tom Montemagny from Stratton Board. He's the chair of the Stratton Board.
Okay, that his
You
email.
can flow it through me.
Okay, I will send it
And
to
if
you.
you flow it to me, I can get it to both.
Yeah,
both
okay.
boards.
But I'd like to see it too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, we
I also wanted to mention the small schools grant that they talked about when we went up that day, because, my impression this whole time has been that the state wants to take it away and roll it all into, the general ed fund. But the state board seemed to think that they were definitely not in favor of doing that and taking small schools grants away from schools. They were probably interested in the list, but I don't think it's going, I got the impression it wasn't gonna go away based on the current State Board of Education members. They thought it was .02 of the budget, and they thought, why take it away from schools that need it to give it to, that small amount to districts where it's not gonna really make an impact. So I just,
But remember, it's not them that decide that, it's the legislature.
No, that's not true. So that day that we were there, or no, I guess it was at a previous meeting, they
was
had
the
been
morning before our
discussing.
meeting.
Yeah, they'd been discussing small schools grants, and it fell to the State Board of Ed to provide a parameter on which they would be decided. And then it goes
that
not
was-
to the legislature, but
That was
actually to the
that was the
agency.
isolation, that wasn't the small school grant. That was the grant that.
Geographic isolation.
isolation that they were discussing.
Right, but small schools grants are closely tied to
No, I
that.
think small school grants are based on,
You have to be geographically
So
isolated.
small schools grants go away.
Right.
They will no longer exist on June 30th, 2019. You'll have one of 2 things. It will convert to a merger grant because you are part of an approved merger, or you can apply for a geographic isolation grant on a year-by-year basis based on the criteria that was discussed at the State Board of Education meeting.
Basically, if, for example, Wyndham made that list, I believe, there were 42 schools on the list. They narrowed it down to like 15 that day, and Marlboro and Wyndham were still on that list, and I think we were like top 5. So
but they have to do that every year, the
Every-
state board.
Every single year.
However, it has not yet been decided. The state board threw out the number of 15 miles or whatever it was, but it goes to the agency to finalize that.
Right.
So if anybody's concerned about that, get in touch with the agency and say, we want to know what's happening with geographic isolation because we will be one of the school, or we want to make sure we're one of the schools who might still be potentially be able to get the grant.
And we
even
need to
from-
understand the application process and when that
Right.
starts. So if it goes away in June, if we need to apply for it, we should be starting soon.
Yeah.
But I don't think, if I remember right, there weren't any other schools in WCSU other than Wyndham and Marlboro, which were far enough away, at least with what's currently being considered. However, don't forget, it still has to be finalized by the agency, by professional bureaucrats.
Isn't it amazing that you're isolated on a state highway?
Yeah,
I know,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Well,
even
it's-
Wardsboro was on a state highway in the middle of nowhere.
It's similar structure, that's the trick, is that it has to be schools of a similar structure. So you could be isolated right next door to another school, but if your structure's different.
So Wyndham, are you all set? Anything else you want to?
No, that's it. I mean, the Wyndham application pretty much goes around that geographic isolation. That's pretty much the base point, And Carolyn actually invited, that was what I recall, I really just quickly read through that email, but she made a point, she really wanted to invite this panel to come to Wyndham, which I'm not sure that will happen, but to get an idea of what we're up against with Wyndham Hill on one side and 121 on the other side, so.
Yeah, and, you know, like we said, they only talked about the one criteria, but there's gonna be more, and in-hospitable routes will
Yeah.
definitely be involved with that.
Okay. And then, Bill, anything else for Stratton?
No, so Stratton is gonna pick a date, and they're gonna make their pitch and then see what happens with the plan on June 1st.
Joe, you want to talk about
Sure. We just reorganized. We have finished, we have a vision statement. We started at our last meeting with goal setting. The timeline that we're working on is to have the vision in place and the goals in place to a point that we can hand it off to Bill and his cabinet at our May meeting to say, okay, tell us what the district, you know, using what we've given you here, tell us what the district is gonna look like. You know, we got 4 new board members. We got the 2 at-large people, and then Jamaica and Newbrook filled theirs. So we're a full board of 11 now, and the hard work continues.
Any comments, any questions?
Yeah, questions?
River Valleys is about the same spot. We just did our vision. We've done our mission. We're working on some guardrails. We're gonna have some guardrails, and then we're gonna have goals. We're trying to give our plan to Bill so he can show us what our school's gonna look like, school system's gonna look like. Hopefully same time, April, May, have him work over it the summer. And then we hope to have a pretty big unveiling in one of the towns or both of the towns, sometime early fall, late summer. And then see where the chips fall after that.
And guardrails are just the sort of, you know, you can't change this change would be too far kind of thing. The sacred cows, you won't touch this. Or
So,
you
yeah, so-
gotta keep this.
One of the guardrails we've talked about is that whatever plan he comes up with, there has to be 2 schools, one in Dover and one in Wardsboro. That could be a guardrail. We talked about like a guardrail saying you have to have Spanish as a language, but that's not a good guardrail because maybe we want to have Chinese or maybe we want to have Russian or French, as Ken was saying earlier. So, but a good guardrail may be that there needs to be foreign language offered to all students. So we're gonna try to have 5 or 6 of those, and that's what we're working on next. And we're hoping to get a lot of input from the public. Anything?
Oh, I would just say that I think West River is kind of inherently building in some guardrails within their goal development. I think it's a really good process to go through.
Yeah, I was thinking that some of our goals seem more
Very.
guardrails.
Anyways.
Yeah, we just hadn't, and I wanted to make sure what that term was, because, invariably someone will say now, are you guys gonna do guardrails?
I did.
Right. And, I think we have some of that in our goal setting.
Yeah.
If we're all good on Act 46, Bill, a 2-minute update on the meeting with Secretary Holcombe.
September of 2017, this board directed the 3 officers to go meet with Secretary Holcombe to follow up on the Dan French report. The Dan French report was a study done by the AOE to look at the possible merger of Wyndham Central Supervisory Union and Wyndham Southwest Supervisory Union. That meeting took place in January of this year. I think I've updated every single individual board about that meeting, but in general, 2 out of the 3 officers were able to make it. One was very, very ill and could not make it. It was a very polite, nice conversation. Basically, and Rich, jump in at any moment, what we heard from Secretary Holcombe is that 4 mergers have already taken place during the Act 46 process of the SU level, and that several more were being considered during the development of the statewide plan,
and that she was finding the trend that they fell into 3 different camps. One was a supervisory union and another supervisory union seemed to have the same capabilities and same capacity at the central office level, and then there was going to be some sort of merger between the 2 of them. Another scenario is that one supervisory union seemed to be at a different place than another supervisory union, and there would be some direction for one supervisory union to absorb the other supervisory union. And then the third one is that one supervisory union seemed to be doing fine, and the other one needed to be disbanded, and the school districts parceled out to neighboring supervisory unions. She did not offer any specifics about what our situation or where we fell into that plan, but she did guarantee that she would speak with the officers of the WCSU prior to the publication of the June 1st plan. So my expectation, as Dan said, after they're having these conversations, starting from the top of the state down to the bottom, that after April 10th, there will be some sort of communication inviting, if this is going to be considered, inviting the WCSU officers up to have a conversation about an SU merger.
The only 2 other things I want to add is, number one, she basically took the French report and said, this is already outdated, and it was January, because a lot of things had changed. The second thing that I'm not sure if everybody's aware of, but the superintendent for Wyndham Southwest will now be the superintendent for the Wyndham Northeast,
Yes.
starting July 1st. I did talk to, this past weekend, I talked to a couple board members from the SU, from Wyndham Southwest. I get them all confused. And they have been given permission by the Secretary of Education to hire a intern superintendent for 1 year, starting July 1st. So there isn't anything, it's gonna be changed so quick that it would happen this year. So, but it could become really interesting for us here.
Well, I have a comment to make. If we decide to go into any kind of merger study and there's a grant offered, I would recommend that we do not take any grant money until we know what is billable.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I think.
And the exact amount that group
Right.
is supposed to get.
But if they take it back and say it's disallowed, it's not anybody's fault. I mean, if it's disallowed because another law passes, which is what happened, that's where you get the overage. Anyway, you're also not gonna see Bill because he's gonna be at way more meetings if we do merges in SU, so you'll never see him.
Well,
If he's not at your meetings now, he's never gonna be at your meeting.
That's all right. No, he'll be at our meetings, you're forgetting. He's on the West River Board. So he comes to those meetings, so we get to see him there.
And that kind of, if
No,
nobody
and
else
if
has a
anything's
comment,
needed, he will come.
that kind of leads us into our next topic, superintendent's report. One of the things I want to say is that Mr. Antone, our superintendent, has built some really good capacity in his team, his cabinet, his group at Wyndham Central. I really feel like they're doing a pretty decent job, a really good job. I don't want to say excellent because then there's nowhere else to go past that, maybe just a little south of excellent. But one of the things that Bill has, and he did send a letter out to everybody, and every board should be aware of it, is that Bill's going to try to be working more with Wyndham, Marlboro, the West River group, and the River Valley group, and not go to try to make every Marlboro, Newfane, Townsend meeting, because he feels its time is really needed to get these new schools off the ground, which I think the officers had talked about with him, felt comfortable with. I think he sent an email out or corresponded with every board. There was no major pullback from any board. And so I think you're gonna start seeing more of him at your River Valley, West River meeting and the River Valleys meeting, maybe a little less.
Right.
But remember, if you have something you need, he will show up. And I think that's really fair, and I think it's, hopefully it's a plan that's gonna work out well for all of us.
Well, just to follow up on that, I really appreciate all the communication from the board chairs of the comfort level with that. I think that,
I just want to emphasize that you have hired some really high-quality leaders at your schools.
but I am always available for consultation, being present in whatever fashion you need. Know that I meet with your principals all the time. I'm always at your schools, seeing what is going on and problem solving. But anything you need, I'm here for you. But on a regular basis, yes, I will lock down to those meetings.
And that was the information moving forward.
And then I just wanted to just say one more thing, that just because of the situation we're in right now is that we are heavily invested in making sure that we're reviewing all of our safety protocols. We've been doing this for over 14 months here. Just so you guys know that this is an ongoing thing that we're doing, and that one of the students from Leland and Gray and the principal of Leland and Gray and myself will be participating in a forum at Brattleboro Area Middle School sponsored by the Reformer at 6 o'clock on Friday night. So there's going to be 8 panelists, and we're just going to be talking about school safety. Rich and I got to attend a similar forum that occurred at Twin Valley Middle High School on Sunday. So this is definitely on the forefront of our minds. I feel very confident that we have been thinking about this for a long period of time, trying to systematically always review what we're doing and improve in any way we can. So I just wanted to make sure I let everybody know that.
What's the date of that Brattleboro thing?
That'll be the 23rd. Yeah, if that's Rich.
Richard, you're talking about stuff, but I'm just curious, did any students in Lincoln Central walk out on the 14th? Did we even have school? Was it strange?
Yeah, right.
No.
So each individual school had different responses in different situations. I would say that all activities were extremely professional and responsible and safe and communicative to the individual communities.
I think there were some emails going around, and I think I really thought that the principal at Leland and Gray did an excellent job, and I think you ought to just explain what, I thought that was a really good plan he came up with. Is that appropriate to speak about?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I'd heard something.
So obviously, it's at the middle high school level, it's a little bit more intense than the elementary level. And right after February 14th, Principal Bob Tebow contacted me and was in deep conversation with his fellow colleague principals about what was the appropriate way to start engaging the students in how they wanted to participate in March 14th. And he took a very measured approach. He met with his leadership group of students. Those students then met with the entire group of students. They came back and met with Bob and planned out what they wanted to have happen, how they wanted to express themselves appropriately on March 14th. Bob shared what was necessary for his role as the principal, and the students expressed what they wanted to have happen. It was very important for them to communicate a message and to be civilly disobedient. That was very important for the students. And so in conversations with the principal, what was determined was a fair consequence was that all students that participated would write a letter to the editor about why they chose to participate. That would be the consequence for leaving campus.
And that was the only consequence for it?
So if you chose not to write that, then you received a detention, which would be the normal consequence. So if 5 kids wanted to leave campus for 17 minutes, a normal consequence is a detention. So I think it was highly appropriate to give the exact same consequence that you normally would, but also to recognize the situation and have an equivalent consequence that was meaningful, but required the student to do some reflection and some work.
No, I will say that the story that has been circulating is much different, and that might want to be addressed somehow.
Sure. No, that's good feedback.
Yeah, it definitely got twisted into a completely negative spin that is occurred, where I've been hearing from other parents that students were given both the disciplinary and the writing assignment.
So
I don't
maybe
know that specific, I do know the
presenting
exact
it-
plan.
Yeah, the plan is fantastic. I do like the plan, but I think maybe some commentary somewhere in the comments or something. Oh, well, no, if those letters show up as an op-ed piece, then I think that would probably explain it away.
No, but I will follow up on
And the students
That-
asked for the
Well,
simple
wait.
city.
The students asked for it.
They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah.
be punished, yeah.
It was unmeaningful if that wasn't
Right.
provided.
I don't know how the alternative story would get out there with parents though, because I know Bob sent that letter home to every single, I mean, he vetted the letter through the board, through me, and went through the whole process of like, here's what, and then
I
all
will
the
say
parents
that
got this, so.
sometimes communication isn't necessarily clearly read, possibly, or interpreted
the
through
letter
a
was
filter, potentially.
Well, sometimes a letter doesn't make it to mom or dad.
Or that's a bit possible as well.
It was emailed, it was posted on their
Yeah.
website, it was, I mean,
So,
It was, because
I was
it
extremely proud.
was a
of
strange conversation
How-
that I suddenly was having, like, wait a minute, this sounds odd. But without having a student in the school, I didn't really.
so, but I think everybody should be commended. I think it went very well.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact, I like the idea about, parents could support them, by being outside. I thought that your principal did a great job, and you guys should be proud of him, and I think, Bill, you shepherded it, everything very well. Did you guys, now, you guys are kind of a hybrid, because you have the 7th and 8th grade. Did your middle schoolers want to try to
I
have it?
haven't heard that anything
No.
happened, and I wanted to ask the last time we got together, and I sort of, I brought up the thing about the kid in what was it?
Fairhaven?
Fairhaven, and nobody had heard about it yet, because it had just happened. And I didn't want to put Wayne on the spot about it, but I sort of feel like it has to be organic from the kids.
Right,
And if the kids weren't there, then they weren't there.
So, just as an aside, in a former life, people remember back, I don't remember exactly when it was, but the Rodney King incident in LA. So what we did at the elementary school, and this is actually back to Frank Vera when he was principal, is we went in with the police, I went in as a police officer. We had a couple selectmen, the chair of the select board, another selectman, we had a highway person, the road commissioner, a couple other government people, and we met with the older students of 4, 5, and 6 years old, and just talked about the incident, and that, just because that happened, that isn't, everybody who wears a uniform isn't like that, and it was a really good chance, and that was something we did, and the kids really enjoyed it. And I actually talked to somebody else about maybe, I think they may try to do something like that. So there are things you can do for your elementary students too. Maybe not the kindergarten kids would understand it, but your older students, and that may be something to talk about with your 7th and 8th graders also. So if we beat that up, I would like to say that I need to, I've got some contracts I need to get approved. So if somebody, we have, how many, Bill? 10, 7? We have a contract for Jen McCusick as the curriculum, instruction, and assessment.
So I would just say that all of these are in the approved budget that we did in November, and they're all WCSU employees.
Okay. Lori Garland is business manager. Stephanie Beatty Hancock as director of special ed. Sarah Kiefer as psychologist, school psychologist. We have Melissa Bartlett as occupational therapist. Heather,
Oh, no, Buell.
yeah, I'm not gonna pronounce that right.
B-O-U-E-L-L.
No, Bloechle, but Block. Okay.
Heather.
Heather as COTA, Certified Occupational Therapist Assistant. We have Holly Nardone as Speech Language Pathologist, and Sarah Shine as a Speech Language Pathologist, and we have Jeff Stent as a Physical Therapist. So,
I'd like to make a motion that you sign those contracts.
do we have a second?
I'll second that motion, just
So
to
we have
confuse you.
Ken and Joe, just to confuse me. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nobody's married to any of these people, right? Because that would be
Do we
problematic.
know who is on the policy committee for the WCSU?
Do we know who is?
Yes.
Well, I gotta get back all my sheets, man.
Okay, so we don't know yet.
No.
Okay, well, when that committee gets together, we need to put a meeting together to go over this fall. We need to go over E1, and I guess we're also going to have to revisit the weapons policy.
So you-
It should be uniform through the whole district,
For September meeting,
September meeting.
you're requesting a policy review.
Of E1, which is Title I.
Portability, yeah, okay. And then weapons, I don't know what number it is, but
Right,
okay.
because it
So
should be uniform in all the
each-
school districts.
Each board is supposed to, at the reorganizational meeting, appoint a member to the Wyndham Central Policy Committee. So make sure you get that filled out and get back to Bill. Peter, did you get what he wanted in there?
I did,
Okay.
but what I did not get was who moved that, who should be the clerk? After, and they were duly elected.
I did.
Okay,
Rich,
yes.
Are you collecting the supervisory, or the superintendent evaluations?
Yes, we're gonna go into executive session as soon as we're make sure that we've covered everything else for about 10 minutes.
And who is gonna be the clerk?
The clerk is
Al.
Al.
Are you taking advantage? Oh, I put them all in there. I did.
Okay, is there, Bill, before you take off, is there anything else, any business to have in open session?
Superintendent evaluations.
No, that's an executive, so hang on one second.
Doing that?
Yeah, we're gonna do that right now.
Yeah, it's on the calendar for April 25th.
I'm looking at it right
I
now.
know. Hang on a second. Okay. If there's nothing else, can I entertain a motion to move into executive session
So moved.
for evaluations? I have a motion by Ken, do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second down on that end of the table? I didn't hear who. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so we're gonna move into executive session at 8:43. Okay, that's done, this is done. That's signed.
Coming out at
8:49.
8:49. Motion.
Do we have, anybody
I
like-
have a motion.
Go ahead.
I have a motion to authorize the WCSU officers to review the individual boards, superintendent evaluations, and to consolidate them into one evaluation, and to review it with the superintendent.
And to,
Review it with the superintendent,
Do we have a second to
or
that?
present it to the superintendent.
Okay, and Angie, seconds it. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is accepted. Let's get out of here. Good meeting, guys. You got a lot accomplished.